Welcome back to more of Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Last time we finished up the first two levels in the first warp room, or time travel area as I think they're officially called, but I call them warp rooms. And now we're going to be heading into this level, so we're just going to jump into the portal and whoop, nope. So, this is a Coco only level. Crash Assist is going to be taking over for this, and in the original PS1 version, these areas in these levels before you got on the Tiger were the only times you could control Coco on foot. She couldn't really do much. Now though, she can actually do a lot more. Pretty much all the same things as Crash. So, this is Purah, Coco's rideable animal companion, the counterpart to Polar from Crash Bandicoot 2. Purah can jump and can also dash if you hold the crouch button. Compared to Polar, Purah's dash can break these barrels, which is something not a lot of people know, but it also lasts as long as you hold down the button, whereas Polar's was just a one-off burst of speed. This makes time trialing these levels really fun, because you just hold dash and just crash through everything. You can get times less than 10 seconds on these levels, based on the time freezes, if you just dash the whole way through. But anyway, in these levels you have to avoid everything, because everything will kill you, but you also need to make sure that you jump on these when you see boxes from a distance at the top of those gates, or not jump on those ramps when you see boxes at the bottom of the gates, because otherwise you will miss out on them. This being an on-rails level, yeah, if you miss any boxes, you kind of have to kill yourself, but there are a lot of checkpoints. I'm personally going for non-checkpoint runs of these levels, so that's going to be interesting. Okay, so there's no boxes in the top portion of that gate, so we have to avoid getting that ramp. And we grab this, and I think that was the last one. Yep. Wow, 51 boxes? It really doesn't feel like that many when you're going through the level. And I love this huge jump. I always loved that back in the original PS1 version, and it's still cool now. And I also love this too. Does Purah still make, like, cat noises? Anyway, let's just grab this gem and get out of here. There will be fail channel for this level, by the way. Because, yeah, in an on-rails level, getting all the boxes in one go can be kind of tough. So, I didn't quite go into it, but the way that I'm going to handle this playthrough is I'm going to be going through every level in one attempt. If I die at all, I am restarting the level, even if I hit a checkpoint. So, yeah, I foresee a lot of failures for later levels, but I just feel it looks the neatest in video footage that way. So, in the original, you could only play as Coco in levels that were specifically designated to her, and all of them were vehicle or gimmick levels. However, and people might have been complaining that I didn't do this in the first episode, but I was saving this until now, if we go to Coco and press R, do you want her to join your adventure? Of course! So, now we can swap out between Crash and Coco for regular levels, although there are some levels that are Crash only, like Under Pressure, and some levels like Orient Express that are Coco only, but in most normal levels you can play as both of them, and I will demonstrate that by playing as Coco now. You'll notice the no sign over Crash went away when I went to this level.
Uka Uka and Cortex want Tiny get crystals and bring them to big Colosseum in Rome. Crash! Leave them for Tiny, or Crash get crushed!
Well, he didn't include Coco in that statement, so I guess we're safe. So yeah, that's Tiny Tiger, the third boss of Crash 2. He now has a speaking role, and weirdly is loyal to Cortex now, despite him being Embryo's minion, who was betraying Cortex in that game. It's weird, but he's still a boss. So, this level, as you can tell by the camera angle, is a Crash staple. It's a chase level. We're running away from something and we're dodging obstacles while we're doing so. You don't actually have to break all of the crates during the chase segments. The Triceratops will break them for you. Here we get a brief reprieve and a checkpoint, but don't rest on your laurels because here comes the Triceratops again. You generally want to take these segments as slow as you can be when you're running away from a giant murderous Triceratops. on your first attempt so you memorize where all the obstacles are. Usually the Wumpa Fruit will kind of lead you in the right direction. They're a little lenient with this one since it's the first chase level. It's not that hard if you take it kind of slowly, and you can see the glow of the lava as it's approaching. But these levels are actually kind of interesting because they're only partially chase levels. We're now in a standard platforming segment. Also, we haven't seen any of these before. These are TNT crates. You jump on them and they start a countdown to an explosion that obviously will hurt you if you're in it. Do not spin TNT crates, they will immediately go off. And that usually is not good for Bandicoot's health. Anyway, we now have a segment where we're heading into the camera. These patches of grass don't hurt you at all, but they just slow you down. You can spin them to get rid of them, though. You can probably tell why being slowed down would be a bad thing when you're running away from, again, an angry murderous Triceratops. Now, this right here, we can't do anything with that yet, and that means that we can't actually 100% this level on our first run through. However, we can still get the box gem on our first attempt. That thing there is just for an additional gem. Now, this is a Nitro Crate. Unlike TNTs, Nitros show no mercy. Touch them and they instantly go off. Spin even closer to them and they also go off, so you want to stay away from them. They do count towards a level's box total, and you can break them with Aku Aku masks, but there's a better way to break those that we'll get to later. For now, though, let's get this bonus. It's kind of surprising this is only our second bonus. And this gives me a good opportunity to talk about something. You might notice that in this game, every level has the same basic melody as its bonus theme, it just has a different arrangement. Like, in the prehistoric levels, it's played on, like, you know, like, bone-sounding drums. I kind of like this, although I also like how Crash 2 had more unique melodies for all the bonuses. Now, you want to not spin that bouncy crate, because that lets you get on top of that. So yeah, we haven't seen these before. These arrow crates, they let you bounce on them, but you can get rid of them by a spin or with a body slam, or in Coco's case, a butt slam. Haven't actually shown that yet, because overall I don't really find it all that useful. It can defeat enemies like jumping and spinning can, but it's a bit unwieldy. There are some boxes you can only break with it though. And this should get us a life. Pretty sure this will get us a life. Yep, there's another one. So let's just spin through here. There is an enemy there, and I managed to spin in just in time. Not really sure what those lab assistants are supposed to be, but they kind of just pop out of the water. I love the glow that crystal has. And this is an exclamation mark crate. This makes outline boxes from either earlier or later in the level visible. There will be kind of puzzles involving these later. And doing a high jump by crouching and then jumping is a good way to break that. Don't know if I've shown this before, but if you slide and then jump, you also do a long jump. That's useful to cover a lot of ground. And as you can see, the camera has gone to a different angle, which means, yep, the Triceratops is back. So let's get ready to run. We have another checkpoint here. And yeah, now they're combining the Triceratops with the grass. Yeah, I had a bit of a false start there with that pterodactyl, and oh, yeah. So, Aku Aku masks do protect you from the lava, but they do not protect you from the Triceratops. You will instantly die if that Triceratops touches you, even with masks. So, obviously, yeah, and demonstrating right there, the masks protect you from lava. Again, make sure you do not miss the gem, because I've actually done that before in one of these levels. But yeah, that is Boneyard mostly complete. It's as far as we can go in Boneyard for now. There is one more gem, but we'll be dealing with that later. Didn't comment on it before, but Coco has her own variant of Crash's dance in the Insane Trilogy, which is great. And speaking of which, Coco's going to take on this last level as well, because this one is Coco exclusive, Making Waves. So yeah, these are jet ski levels. It says you can press ZR to accelerate. You can also use the jump button to accelerate, and that's the one that I kind of prefer, because that's how it was in the original version of the game. You'll hear me refer to the original quite often, but that's because I grew up with that version, and this one it's pretty much just a graphical update, but I think they did a fantastic job on this remake. Anyway, you automatically go off these ramps with a jump if you approach them, while accelerating, obviously, but you can hold the analog stick to do different tricks in the air, like spins. The main one that's useful to know is that if you hold down up while going off a ramp, you do a bit of a dive. That can actually be useful for getting some boxes and dodging past some of these floating bombs. You might also notice that you can't really go anywhere you want. These levels are pretty heavily gated off by those bobbers on the sides there, but you also have that arrow at the top of the screen telling you need to go. Now, you need to be a bit careful here because there are these rolling cannonballs, which are actually not quite the basis for the bombs in Crash Team Racing. That's the floating bombs that we've passed already with the fuses. So yeah, you can see more of these here. Gonna want to outrun them a little bit before I go for these boxes because I don't have any masks in this level, and yeah, I will die if I get hit by one of those cannonballs without a mask, obviously. You can get masks in these levels. You might not think that you'd be able to, but you can. Those guys in the rowing boats always remind me of Smee from Peter Pan, and I'm pretty sure that's intentional. So something kind of ridiculous. Did you notice that seagull that was perching on that crate sometimes? Yes, that will kill you if you break that box while the seagull is there. As I've said before, Crash and by extension Coco die to a faint breeze, so yes, everything in this universe is trying to kill you. Like, technically the seagull, like, isn't exact, like, the animation when you get hit by one isn't exactly a death, but it still counts as a failure and a life loss, so yeah. Anyway, we're just going across more of these jumps here. These levels, and there will be more of these levels, get a lot more intense later on. These bombs actually do bob a little bit with the water, so if you slow down a little bit, you can slip past them that way. They're also affected by the waves, and you can kind of abuse that to get over the bombs in some instances where you wouldn't normally be able to. I think speedrunners and people doing the time trials can abuse that to make certain segments quicker. And that bomb is dangerously close to that chest, but to that crate, let's grab that, and that's everything. So, the Cortex-shaped skull rock marks the end of this level. Let's get out. And yeah, you might notice something. All of the other levels are gone. Once you got all the crystals in a world, you have to beat that world's boss before you can play its levels again. Most of the boss fights in this game are Crash only, so we have to switch back to Crash for this, so let's face off against Tiny Tiger.
Crash! Coco! Stole the pretty crystals! Tiny, take them back in Gladiator Arena!
And Emperor Cortex is observing the match, as are an audience filled entirely with lab assistants, because I'm pretty sure no one else would pay to watch this. So, first phase of this, we basically just have to run away from him until he gets his pitchfork stuck in the ground, and then we can spin him. Tiny honestly isn't the real threat of this fight. The real threat is coming up right now. These lions. You can spin them out of the way, but they come from all of these doors, and it can be kind of hard to avoid the ones to either side while you're focusing on the one right in front of you. Now, there is a trick to get past the lion segments, but I'm not going to show that for this attempt. I want to do this quote-unquote fairly. I also really like how Tiny's Gladiator outfit actually got into Crash Team Racing Nitro Field. It's kind of surprising that wasn't an alternate costume for him to start with, but yeah. They did add it eventually. Yeah, the lions last quite a while. Usually whenever I die to this fight, it is to the lions. Fortunately though, you only have to go through 2 segments of them because Tiny's down to his last bit of health, and that's it. And yeah, even the audience hates him. But unlike the earlier Crash games, we get something out of defeating the bosses. Enjoy this belly flop, and we can even jump on Tiny. Didn't realize we could do that, that's kind of cool. But enjoy this belly flop while it lasts, because we now have the supercharged body slam. So this replaces our normal belly flop from now on. It has a slightly bigger radius, on it. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Well done, children. By defeating Tiny, you have unlocked the gate to the next time travel area. Go back to the center of this time twister and save your progress if you wish. From there, you will see that the gate to the second time travel area is now open.
And we can also access the boss again whenever we want to, which is what I'll actually be doing because I want to show that trick for the lions. Okay, so during the lion phase, there's a certain spot that you can stand in, but I'm not sure if this will work. Yeah, that didn't work. So, there's a certain spot that you can stand in during the lion phase. You have to be very precise with it, but otherwise that happens. Oh, okay, you have to be moving for it to work. So, this spot, you could stand in this spot to avoid all of the lions in the original PS1 game. In the remake, they actually kept the trick, except this time they acknowledged it by having the crowd throw cheese at you when you do it. So that's actually kind of a nice nod to sort of an oversight in the original game. I like that, but yeah, you have to actually be in motion. If you aren't moving, the lions from that area will get you. But yeah, that is a way that you can literally cheese this segment. It's always kind of cool, I find, when a remake actually acknowledges like an exploit or a bug in the original game and kind of turns it into an intentional feature. Kind of reminds me of how in Echoes, I mean, I'm not sure if Nosferatu working on Duma was a glitch or intentional in the original. Some people think it was a glitch, but in the remake it's definitely an intended feature. But with that, we have finished up what we can do in the first warp room for now. Next time, we will be actually not quite heading to the second warp room. I'll see you back here in the center of the time twister next time. Oh, and as I forgot to mention it before, Tiny Tiger in the Sane Trilogy is voiced by John DiMaggio, who plays Heidegger in the remake of Final Fantasy VII, along with Waka and Kimari in the original Final Fantasy X. But he's most famous for Bender in Futurama. More cheese!
Whoa!
You can actually get times under 10 seconds, given all of the time freezer crates. So that's pretty cool, but we're not time trialing, so we're going to go slowly, especially since this is on rails. If we miss any, or if that happens, it can also break these barrels, which is something that not a lot of people know. But it actually lasts... So this here is Purah, Coco's counterpart to Polar, the polar bear from Crash 2. This is her...